Okay, should I do this again? Call the regular council meeting of Monday, January 27th to order. And if there are no late items, call for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councilors Adey and Randhawa. Any additions or deletions? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. All right, we are back to where I almost got to before, which is if there's any member of the public that would like to address council on any of the topics that are on the agenda this evening, you're more than welcome to do that at this time. Nobody's coming forward, so we'll move on. There is the consent agenda in front of you. There are a number of items on it. I'll read through them. There's the minutes of the regular council meeting of January the 13th. There are 5 reports. A report from the planning with the December 2024 development activity. There's a report from the manager of communications, engagement, social development. Update on requests for extension of the Millennium Walkway Memorial Wall Program. Report from planning with regards to the January 2025 Community Planning Activity Report. The report from the Deputy City Manager, which is a follow-up to council inquiries. There is a report from the Director of Operations with regards to the Prince Rupert Major Project update. There's correspondence for approval from the North Coast Regional District with regards to the United Coast Collective Advocacy for Northern Ferry Routes. Request for support for the application to the NDIT from the Prince Rupert Performing Arts Center. And there is a correspondence for receipt from the Union of BC Municipalities with regards to urban communities partnering for reconciliation. I'd entertain a motion to adopt all the items on the consent agenda. And then, of course, we can speak to any in particular. Councillors Cunningham and Councillors Randhawa. Anything you want to draw attention to within there, Councillor Adey?
I'd just like to extend my appreciation that the Millennium Walkway Memorial extension, that we're going to be continuing with that and making use of what's there, obviously with a view to eventually creating a long-term solution to what's a limited resource at the moment. So.
Right. Thank you. I'm particularly interested in the major project update. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in there, and I don't want to go item by item by item, but there's just a ton of stuff in there that's worth drawing attention to. This report outlines the current capital projects that are underway and roughly where they sit in terms of status and percent completion. So the design work, for example, on the Public Works building is 95%. The construction is 5%, and it just goes through like that. Bridge repairs, 6th Avenue, construction 95%. The design on the 2nd Avenue bridge repairs, the landfill closures, Watland Road, the water replacement program, and it just goes on and on. The major projects that we're dealing with, and first of all, it's impressive the list of projects that we're dealing with. It deals with outfalls and lift station, and so if people have questions around that, I encourage you to have a look at that report. Any other things you want to comment on, Council, within Councillor Cunningham?
I noticed where the McCarthy building construction is going to be coming in a little bit higher again.
Dr. Buchan.
Your Worship, I read that as well, that some of the costs came in higher than expected when they went to tender. And I don't know if DC Ampucci is online for this.
DC Ampucci, are you online?
I am on the line, thank you. Sorry, I can't have my camera on. I'm having some technical difficulties with bandwidth here. So yes, we are seeing the numbers coming in a bit higher, but we are working with the contractor to try and reduce them as much as possible. So I believe the report shows that we are at a certain percent of complete in the demolition. However, some of the items that could have cost control items associated with them, we haven't demoed yet, and we are working on more facade type things on the new building to bring the cost down. So some of the beautification pieces would likely be removed and be more of an industrial looking building keep the cost sort of in a magnitude that we're discussing previously.
So that's not the new build, it's just the existing building?
No, it would be. Oh, thank you, Counselor. Sorry for not addressing properly. Thank you, Counselor. It is. It is both. So it is the all-in number is a combination number of both the existing renovation and the new building. So part of the existing building that is being demolished and renovated inside. Some of the items aren't being taken out because they could be salvaged, so they could be cost-saving issues there. And then we are looking at the new building, at some of the facade of it to reduce the price into the envelope that we looked at.
Councillor Cunningham.
I thought the new building had already gone to tender and it came in at $6 million. And now you're saying that that $6 million might be higher?
DCM Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it's a value build, a value engineering process, somewhat like the RCMP. So we start with a number and we move through the process. And as we go through, things are getting closer to design and construction. We find that product prices change during that process. It wasn't what was called a GMP, which is a guaranteed maximum price. But what we can do then is work with the contractor on some of the components to reduce them, or reduce a little bit of the space, or reduce some of the facade to get it back down to where the number was what we talked about.
So you're telling me that you put it out to bid originally without a design finished yet? And if that's the case, how many people bid on that particular building?
DCM Pucci.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we did put a design build process out, and I don't remember how many bidders bid on it. We can bring that back to council, but council did award the project in an open meeting as a design build, which at that time came in as the same process I described, where we start with a plan. It goes through the process. We have a number we start with, and then we work towards a final price. Knowing our envelope of money, then we have to look at cost saving measures to fit it back in the envelope.
Thank you.
All right. Are you ready to vote on the consent agenda? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. All right, next up we have reports. Report from planning with regards to climate change adaptation plan. Recommendation that council adopt climate change adaptation and action plan indicated in attachment 1 and direct staff to integrate the plan into departmental and budgeting as resources permit. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Forster and Adey, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a report from the Director of Corporate and Legislative Services with regards to liquor license amendment for a new outdoor patio. Recommendation is the council direct staff to provide a letter of support to the BC Liquor and Cannabis Licensing Branch with respect to the application for Port City Spirits for an application for a liquor primary new outdoor patio at 1F 801 Fraser Street with hours of operation from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. Sunday through Saturday. Can I have a motion to that effect, please? Councillors Niche and Cunningham. Councillor Adey, do you want to ask your normal question in terms of?
I'll ask that question, and I'll probably have another one afterwards. The question, for those of you who don't know, our inside joke is what public feedback have we heard on this proposal?
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too will be keeping my camera off so that you can hear me. I can report that we have received 22 letters of support with respect to the Port City Spirits application, and one letter not necessarily against, not necessarily for. There was some questions raised in the one letter that was provided that I'd just like to provide some clarification on, if I could. In the letter, it noted an approval of the hours from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. And I'd just like to note that council actually did approve those hours previously, I believe in October or November of 2024. So this application today is strictly for the purposes of the patio. Some of the other items that were noted in the letter with respect to drinking and driving, that's an RCMP matter. And then the smoking is not for the city to weigh in on. But I will note that we have not received any bylaw complaints with respect to this property. I did confirm with our bylaw department today.
Thank you. Councillor Ady, your question.
The question was about the 2 a.m. And I'll ask it anyway because I think it being open at 2 a.m. is different if you're outdoors than it is when you're indoors. And I know that there are people living next door, and I guess I'm wondering whether there is any intention to make sure that it doesn't become a noise problem, just loud conversations if somebody's trying to sleep next door. And I'm pretty sure that these kinds of things can be managed. I'm just wondering if there's any thought put to how we might manage that.
Director Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, actually, in speaking with the applicant, it's my understanding that they've done some research on patios in and around Vancouver, where Caveat is put on the patio so they can only operate until I believe it's 11 p.m. If that's the case, council is certainly free to note that, where you could have the hours specifically for the patio at a different time than the actual liquor license. The 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. is strictly for the business, for the liquor license, for the establishment as a whole. And should council wish to have the license for the patio reduced hours so that it was 11 a.m. 11 p.m., not 11 a.m., 11 p.m. or midnight, that could certainly be part of the letter.
Okay, I can return to that if you want to make a side motion. I've got other speakers. Councillor Cunningham?
Well, along those lines, I was going to say that we change the hours to the patio to 11 p.m. I actually spoke to one of the owners, and they've done the research and figured that's a good time to close it down outside. And the fact that it's outside, and not only have you got somebody living beside it, but you've got boarding behind it, and I've had two people question the 2 a.m. time too. So I'd like to change that to 11 p.m. for the outdoor patio.
I guess what I'm hearing is a motion that would say that the recommendation be altered to say
10 a.m. to
with
11.
the hours of operation, and let's say on the patio from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. Sunday through Saturday. Would that work?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Director Miller, have you caught that?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. So that's a motion. Is there a seconder? Councillor Niche, any discussion on the amendment to the motion? We're just voting on that one insertion in the sentence before. All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. All right. Councillor Niche.
I was just going to get into that conversation as well because it sounds like 11 is more reasonable, and I can't imagine that anyone outside at 2 o'clock in the morning is going to be specifically super quiet. So I think probably a good idea that 11 would be more reasonable.
Okay.
So that's all I had to say.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions from council? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Report from the Director of Recreation Community Services with regards to the 2020 All-Native Basketball Tournament. And I'm going to make a comment in just a moment here, but I'm going to read the recommendation. The council approved waiving the 2025 bylaw fees associated for the arena dry floor setup on Friday, February the 7th from 10:30 p.m. to Saturday, February 8th at 8 a.m. for the All-Native Basketball Tournament. The report is a great report, and I don't know whether to compliment the Director of Recreation or the City Manager, but in writing the report, they managed to completely avoid the fact that they needed to blame the mayor for the increase cost. And so I'll give you a little backstory. Everything was exactly as the report suggests, and things I think were going along swimmingly. until there became a conflict between a Friday night game with the Rampage and the installation of the floor. And I poked my nose in. I poked my nose in. I was going to say where it doesn't belong, but I think it belonged. Anyway, and so the direct result was that instead of being able to set up the floor during regular hours, the floor is being installed much later in the evening. It accommodates the Rampage game. The All Native tournament was prepared to live with that. It makes the Rampage, both of which are obviously, Rampage and All Native are important. So you can call this the Mayor Pond Interference Fund if you want to, but that's what's being asked for. Dr. Buchan.
Your Worship, just to clarify, kudos for the report. Writing belong entirely to the Director of Recreation.
You're pointing up at the screen, but
It was my impression that Councillor Forster wanted to ask a question.
oh,
Well, I was just going to make the motion.
there we go. Moved by Councillor Forster, seconded by Councillor Cunningham. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Thank you very much. We have a report from the Director of Operations with regards to Lisa Walters Drive improvements, that Council resolves that expenditures for improvements to Lisa Walters Drive be approved and direct the work to be included in the 5-year financial plan bylaw. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillors Nish and Cunningham. Any comments or questions? Self-explanatory in the report. All in favor? Oh, was that a question, Councillor?
Yeah, I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
We've got that 0.6 million is going to come from the developer. Are we able to take any of the additional from the water fund that we've had from the federal government, or is that already allocated? Is that nothing to do with this? Just when I read at it's pretty self-explanatory, but I just wasn't certain if we were able to access other pots of money other than tax.
Dr. Buchan.
Your Worship, I'd like to defer that question to the Director of Finance.
Director Bonvin.
Thank you. There actually is no tax involved in this. And no, we did ask, and this particular project is not included in the initial IRS. So the water money that we received as a grant cannot be used. However, we are utilizing the interest from that grant that we haven't spent yet.
All right. Question asked and answered. Any other comments or questions? That interest has been pretty nice. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a report from planning with regards to a development variance permit. Recommendation is that council approves the development variance permit DVP 2410 at 975 Saskatoon Avenue. Can I have a motion? Councillor Nish, Councillor Cunningham. Should I ask it or should you? Have we had any comments on the development variance permit? Director Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, we have not.
Thank you very much. Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a report from planning with regards to the rezoning application ZBLA 2404. Recommendation is that council consider the rezoning application ZBLA 2404 and that a section 219 covenant is registered in the land title office prior to the fourth reading of this bylaw on the property titled lots 1 to 4, block 16, section 1, district lot 251, range 5, district plan 923, that requires the owner to upgrade servicing to the subject property as required by the city to accommodate any future land use changes or development. Motion to that effect, please. Councillors Adey and Nish. Any discussion? Councillor Cunningham.
This is the old museum building that's now there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So by putting it to from a P1 to C1, it opens it up to some more development that they would have to take a development permit out first, and then if they wanted to build a bigger building or anything like that.
Dr. Buchan.
That's correct.
That's correct.
So we still have the safety valve.
There are further steps.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
No problem.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. We have a bylaw amendment, bylaw number 3537, 2025. Recommendation that council give first and second readings to the City of Prince Rupert zoning bylaw amendment, bylaw number 3537, 2025, and that council proceed to public hearing. Can I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Adie and Councillor Skelton Morgan. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Council, round table. Any comments or questions at this point from council? Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the last few months, I've heard misinformation, rumors, we all know what rumors are like, that started out with somebody that had the incorrect belief that we were shutting down the library, which isn't at all true. I wonder if we could publicly be clear and transparent. We're not and have not looked at a plan to close the library.
Well, I think you just did it, but I'll echo it. There has never been a plan to close the library. Let's be crystal clear about that. The library is an important service in the community. It's valued by community and council, and there's been no move towards that end. We are always looking at ways to see if we can enhance the library, and we continue to do that. But no, it hasn't been planned and never been contemplated and won't be contemplated. I can say with confidence. Anybody else? Councillor Randhawa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, a few people call me, like they say, like in past when we send our factories, we had like one coupon for the like spring cleanup. People can dump there.
Yep.
And they can use that coupon. So
Yep.
this year they couldn't find any coupon there. So they are asking we have another plan for to subsidize that.
Yeah. Dr. Buchan.
Your worship, I'm not up to speed on what our plans are for the next notice. I'll defer that to our CFO.
Director Bauman, the question is around, a spring cleanup free tipping type coupon. Not in the phone book, yeah.
Yeah, it used to be in the phone book. I'll actually have to defer that to the director of operations. I don't believe we've done this for a couple of years. Oh, we did do it last year. Okay, I will look back into it.
Have you got any comments?
No, I do not. I will have to check into it.
Okay, thank you. All right. DCM Pucci, how's your memory?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we did do it last year. It was a bit problematic because some citizens were getting quite crafty and they were photocopying the token that was that was put out, and it was getting a little out of hand. So we are looking at it this year to figure out a new way to tie it to the property. So we are looking at that. We are coming out with something, but we're just looking at what that's going to be, and we're involving our manager of communications as well.
Thank you. A tattoo every time you go to the dump. How's that sound?
Just put it on a $20 bill.
Any other comments or questions? I've got a couple, but I want to give you the chance. All right, just a couple. I am informed by the Director of Recreations that we have made the list to be included in the voting for Craft Hockeyville. And so, did you want to say anything directly? You'll do a better job than I will. Try to fill it.
absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Craft Hockeyville is an opportunity for our community to get nominated for into a grand prize of $250,000 for arena upgrades. So it is a voting and a public process. So we have uploaded a video. Thanks to Veronica for helping support doing that. We offloaded that within a day. So kudos to you. And it's an opportunity to really just engage our community. So there's a nomination process between now and March 1st. So we've uploaded the video. We want to see stories and photos and likes and shares. And the more votes we get, they're going to go through a panel and assess. That's the grand prize is $250,000 plus an NHL game. And then there's runner-up prizes of 3 for $25,000. So I think we have a really good case here for the arena in terms of our heaving pad. So this is just another creative way the department is looking at all the opportunities to support our development of our portfolio.
Thank you very much. Wanted to draw attention particularly to to ESS volunteers and Joyce Charlton in particular for all of the support they did through the fire at the Sherbrooke Apartments. It was an amazing undertaking. And then of course our own people, Rosa, Nicole, others just stepped up to the plate. Our firefighters, our police, yeah. Just everybody did amazing work. And there's a few things I just want to highlight. North Coast Transition Society. You know, I just don't know where we'd be as a community without the work that they do every day. But on this particular case, they really stepped up. As you're aware, you know, the Sherbrooke Apartments was basically divided into 2 halves. One half was inhabitable after a period of time. And so those people experienced a really rough go, but then were able to move back home. The other half, the people couldn't move back home. There are just things that need to be done in the building and ESS money runs out. It's time limited. And the North Coast Transition Society's been right there all the way, trying to find them housing, dealing with all of the donations that have been given. They've just been amazing. The ESS was activated for over 100 people, including many children, displaced, as you know, at 2:30 a.m. on Christmas morning. More than 40 people never returned to their homes. 39 units had their leases terminated due to damage beyond repair. Here's a couple of the suppliers. This is our community. The Highlander hotel rooms that are still being used. The staff have been amazing, is what we're told. Prestige Hotel, again, the same thing. Staff amazing. Bargain Shop, purchase of gift cards. Inn on the Harbor, not only the hotel rooms, but accommodated wheelchair accessible room for a displaced individual. The ESS team used the Inn on the Harbor boardroom multiple times to data enter the evacuees. The Inn on the Harbor accommodated DPA counselors twice during the event. Disaster physio-social assistance counselors, and accommodated the terrorist ESS team who were deployed twice here to assist the team. Safeway for groceries and incidentals. Each individual got $22.50 per day for groceries, plus a one-time payment of $50. Safeway graciously accepted the challenge and provided great support. And then in our very own city of Prince Rupert, when it was unclear who was going to be able to pay for what or how things were going to get processed, our own staff, I know for sure Rosa Miller, there may have been others, stepped up, pulled out their credit card, not their personal credit card, the city card, and basically said, you know, we're going to look after these people. Each individual received $200 per person as per the program, 150 of which is replacement clothing, $50 for extreme weather conditions. All of that was done to ease the burden on a group of families that really suffered just a terrible, I mean, we all know, right? I don't have to go into it. It was a terrible thing. But in the middle of that all, there's just always so many shining lights. And I'm sure there were just tons of others. There were people phoning in right away. How do I help? Where do I give money? You know, as a matter of fact, the hotels had to start turning people away because people were coming down with stuff that, you know, couches and chairs and TVs, and it's like we can't handle that, right? So amazing response, and I just want to acknowledge that. Councillor Cunningham.
On that note, there's still 7 families that are looking for accommodation. It's 14 adults, 13 children. And unfortunately, during the ultimatum, they've got to move out of the hotels. So there's a real crunch time for it. And if anyone knows of any accommodation that's available, they can get a hold of Granier Bath at the transition.
Yeah.
She's in charge of it. Or they can get a hold of me because I've been working with Granier on trying to find accommodation as well.
Great. All right. With that, Councillor Adey, can I call on you to just comment on just a little piece of work that the health committee's been doing? We had a doctor come to town. Do you want to talk about that just a little bit? Put you on the spot.
Thank you. I think I'm currently chairing it seems to go by a number of names. We'll call it a task force on recruitment and retention. Initially put together almost a year ago, I think, to see what the community could do in tandem with Northern Health to incrementally work on the problem of getting more physicians to come to town. It takes many forms, and it requires some invaluable work by other people on the committee than myself. And effectively what we're doing is doing what we can to encourage people to come, to welcome them when they come to visit, and to assist them with any of the obstacles that might prevent them from being able to settle here. And I won't give a quantitative report on it, but I can say that my understanding is it's making a difference. And just this weekend, we hosted a physician who's going to be moving to town, and managed to find him some accommodations. And so it is beginning to have some success. I'll leave it at that.
Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Cunningham.
Well, Councillor Adey's been somewhat humble about it, but 2 other individuals that have been on that committee and have done a lot have been Rosa Miller, our one of our directors, as well as Sharon Stromdahl, as both of them have stepped up to the plate and done an awesome job on it.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Councillor Cunningham and Councillor Niche. All in favor? Any opposed? It is carried. Meeting is adjourned.